What happened today on Capitol Hill stunned everyone watching. A routine Senate discussion suddenly turned explosive when Senator Patty Murray accused Senator Marco Rubio of what she called outright illegal acts.
Senator Murray.
Thank you very much, Chair Graham. Senator Schatz, welcome to your new role. I look forward to working with both of you. Secretary Rubio, I am deeply concerned that you have overseen a systemic campaign to dismantle USAID, impound billions of dollars that this committee actually provided, and unilaterally remake the Department of State without the slightest bit of concern that you lack the authority to do that without Congress. It has created chaos, it's caused preventable deaths across the globe, and it has undermined American leadership. As Ranking Member Schatz noted, what you've done is outright illegal, a complete violation of bipartisan appropriation laws, the Impoundment Control Act, and the Anti-Deficiency Act. Within hours of taking office, President Trump halted all foreign aid in flagrant defiance of the law. Now, under your watch, Secretary Rubio, that freeze was implemented with chaos and cruelty. And then you illegally shuttered USAID, placing everyone on leave, halting life-saving work, literally locking people out of the building and out of their devices, even in dangerous corners of our world. You paid people not to work, abandoned our partners across the globe, and chaotically recalled global staff, putting more than 1,600 Americans who served our country abroad in limbo. And when you shut down the USAID payment system, you even refused to pay for services provided before the illegal freeze. You fought all the way to the Supreme Court, against paying for services U.S. businesses already rendered with funding that Congress already provided. And I know you know, Mr. Secretary, but you lost. And I assume you need the reminder because to this day, you have not made all the payments that are required by our nation's highest court. And as a result, American companies continue to lay off American workers. And by the way, you do continue to lose in court, including just yesterday over your move to illegally replace the U.S. Institute of Peace Leadership, and in recent cases over international broadcasting. Now, eventually, Mr. Secretary, you sent Congress notice of your intent to collapse the USAID into state. Only you didn't consult with this committee. That's required by law. It came without justification, also required by law, and it came long after USAID was reduced to rubble. So sadly, disregard for our laws and values, to me, has sort of become a pattern of your tenor, revoking visas when someone writes an op-ed you don't like, or reaching a secret deal to use taxpayer dollars to jail U.S. residents in a notorious foreign prison, no due process, or pointlessly leaving food assistance to rot in storage. Actually, in Dubai, we now have 500 tons of high-energy biscuits that expire in July. They're bought, they're shipped, they're stored, all at taxpayer expense. But you've condemned them to waste, and that is one example of many. Now, another pattern that I'm deeply worried about is transparency. We have pressed you for information. Our staffs have sent you countless emails and briefing requests so we can do our job here. There are hundreds of unanswered requests and no effort to address them. And Mr. Secretary, that's got to change. Even your plan to reorganize the State Department came with no information on the 270 offices you are moving to eliminate, the proposed layoffs, or how USAID would be merged into state. I won't ask you whether impounding billions of dollars is legal. It is not. I won't ask you whether it's efficient to pay people not to work or fire them without determining staffing needs. But, and I won't ask you if cutting 91% of our counter-narcotic and law enforcement programs make us safer, abruptly abandoning agreements with allies makes us stronger, or ceding our global leadership to China makes us more prosperous. Of course not. We know that. We have worked together for years in a bipartisan way to advance U.S. interests and fund those programs. So with respect to my colleagues, how long are we going to sit here and watch this silently? Are we going to roll over as Trump tramples our laws and undermines our U.S. leadership, burns down what we have spent decades building, and let millions of people across our globe suffer and die? or are we going to stand up, push back, assert our constitutional power of the purse? And to my colleagues on both sides, this is the moment to decide whether this committee continues to be a powerful bipartisan force, a force that I think we've all been proud of for a very long time, a force that is focused on safety and economic strength and national security, focused on leading the world in research and development and countering China and others with our soft power and our military power. Every single member of this committee knows what we are risking by letting this administration tear down so much. On USAID and other programs, we can always talk about how we can make things work better and other reforms. I don't think any of us are opposed to any of those considerations. We have been doing that in a bipartisan way for a long time. But that's not actually what Trump's fiscal year 2026 budget proposes. Now, Mr. Secretary, I know you would like to give a 5-minute speech back to me, but I only have a few seconds left, and I do need some information from you.
The moment those words hit the chamber, everything shifted. Rubio froze, snapped his head toward Murray, and instantly demanded she repeat what she just said. And she did, word for word, with even more force. Murray accused Rubio of mishandling confidential committee materials, bypassing established protocols, and using restricted information for political advantage. She claimed there were internal notes, staff testimony, and procedural reports showing Rubio skirted federal guidelines. Her argument was simple. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This was wrongdoing. Rubio fired back with pure indignation, calling the accusation reckless, slanderous, and a political hit job dressed up as oversight. His tone went from defensive to furious as he insisted that every one of his actions followed Senate procedure to the letter. But Murray didn't flinch. She pressed harder, asking why multiple staff accounts contradicted his claims. Rubio accused her of fabricating evidence. Murray responded that the documented inconsistencies speak for themselves. The chamber grew tense. Conversation stopped. Reporters leaned forward. Even other senators looked shocked as the exchange escalated. Rubio demanded Murray withdraw her statement. Murray refused, saying, "If the truth makes you uncomfortable, that's not my problem." That line sent the room into a ripple of murmurs. Rubio then accused Murray of using her committee position to weaponize accusations for political theater. Murray shot back that Rubio had compromised the integrity of the committee and that his attempt to portray himself as a victim only made things worse. The presiding officer had to intervene multiple times just to keep the confrontation from devolving into chaos. What makes this clash so explosive is not just the anger, it's the implications. When a senior senator accuses another of illegal conduct, that's not a minor disagreement. That's career-level danger. It opens the door to ethics reviews, inquiries, subpoenas, and hearings. And Murray made it clear she has more to say. Rubio made it equally clear he's ready to fight back. By the end of the confrontation, nothing was resolved, but everything had escalated. Murray doubled down on her accusation. Rubio doubled down on his denial. And now both offices are under pressure to release documents, statements, and explanations. This isn't just another political squabble. This is the kind of accusation that can change careers, shift committee power, and trigger investigations that pull in far more people than just the two senators involved. The Murray-Rubio confrontation has already become the biggest story in Washington today, and this is only the opening chapter. One thing is certain: whatever comes next will be bigger, louder, and far more consequential.
I'd like to respond to your 7-minute speech, which is primarily, I disagree like 99% of it. It's just not true. We've done nothing that's illegal. We've been in over 600 briefings to Congress. We've asked questions. We've answered questions repeatedly. We get hundreds of questions a day. We respond them as quickly as possible. And your characterization of the moves that we made
Mr. Secretary, I would
false.
just tell you, we are here because we need the information so that we can write our budget and on a bipartisan.
Well, you'll have the information you need to write a budget.
Okay, so will we get the details on the El Salvador arrangement? Yes or no?
Well, which Salvador arrangement?
Your agreement that you've made with them about.
But what agreement? The president of El Salvador agreed to take in
My
250 gangbangers, and we
there's
sent
funding
them.
details we have not gotten. We need to see what the costs are in that.
Well, we haven't funded that. We've provided them law enforcement assistance.
But
I know
that-
you just claimed that we cut all this law enforcement assistance. We provided El Salvador and other countries law enforcement assistance. They have the right to spend that money any way they wish. But they did us a big favor. They took 250 dangerous, trained out. We didn't deport any
Okay,
U.S. residents. No U.S. residents
I'm
were
not going to
reported.
argue with you on that point.
Well,
I know we
it's
have
not an
different-
argument, but don't say we deported U.S. residents, because we didn't. I don't deport anybody.
I'm not asking.
But we didn't deport U.S.
I'm asking
residents.
you whether we can see the details of the arrangements, including the funding details.
I'm giving you
as
the
an
details.
appropriate-
The
funding-
arrangements are we provide law enforcement funding to El Salvador, among other countries. How they choose to spend that
Okay,
money internally is up to
I take that as
them.
a no. How
But I
about-
can tell you,
Can you give me the details on the 200-plus offices you're proposing to
Sure, we've
eliminate?
provided
We need that. Can I get your commitment to
sure, of
give
course.
us those?
It's part of our reorg.
How about the details and justifications of your proposed rescissions from programs you claim are out of alignment with administration priorities? Are we going to get the details of that, funding priorities?
On rescissions and empowerment and things of this nature, that's obviously an OMB function, and I would talk to them about that in regard to what's going to go on with that money. I can tell you the contracts we canceled, and I can list to you the contracts we canceled and the rationale why, because I went through them
Can you get
myself.
those to us like today? So we can
contracts?
make our- Yes, and the funding arrangements that you've made. That's what I'm asking for.
Funding arrangements with who?
For any of the rescissions, for any of the funding, for any of the multiple congressional directives that you have given out, so that we as an appropriations committee can make our funding decisions.
Sure, you're going to have all that information
you.
when you
I
put together a
appreciate that.
budget.
Thank you. I enjoyed that.